It was supposed to be a warm evening among women celebrating women, but for Meghan Markle, it became something else entirely. The night unfolded not as an embrace, but as an exposure, stripping away every layer of control she thought she still possessed. When she walked into Emma Grede's immaculate Los Angeles home, lit by soft gold candles and scented with quiet power, she expected applause. Instead, she found silence that spoke louder than any headline ever could. Fresh off her whirlwind stretch from Paris to New York and then Washington, D.C., Meghan Markle returned to California not for family or rest, but for optics. The first night back in Montecito could have been about bedtime stories with Archie and Lilibet, but she chose the dinner table instead. A table where her reflection in the wine glass revealed a truth she wasn't ready to face. Around her sat women who didn't need royal titles to command a room. They built their own kingdoms. They were the ones holding the keys now. At the center of it all sat Emma Grede, the woman who turned ambition into an empire. Self-made, sharp-eyed, every movement purposeful. Next to her, Nicole Avant, wife of Netflix co-chief Ted Sarandos, a figure of calm authority whose presence alone dictated tone. And between them, quite literally and symbolically, was Meghan Markle, trying to reassert her place in a hierarchy that had already shifted without her consent. The footage now circulating online freezes one uncomfortable truth in motion. Meghan Markle looks poised, her smile deliberate, her gestures rehearsed, yet something flickers behind her eyes. Emma Grede is vibrant, leaning in, laughing with ease, her hands alive with expression. Every word she speaks lands with gravity. She doesn't wait for silence. She creates it. And when her arm sweeps across the air, it nearly brushes Meghan's face. A moment of pure dominance disguised as enthusiasm. Meghan Markle doesn't flinch outwardly, but her body betrays her. Her hand rises to her ear, a self-soothing tic she's displayed before. The corners of her smile tighten. She's performing calm, yet every second reveals dissonance. She knows the cameras are there. She knows the optics. What she didn't know was that this night would mark a visible loss of control. A social dethroning executed without malice, just natural hierarchy at play. The irony? This dinner was branded as women empowering women, but the power was uneven from the moment Meghan Markle entered. Emma Grede had nothing to prove. Her success spoke for her. Nicole Avant had no need for validation. Her influence was institutional. Meghan arrived needing both. For years, she has built her image on resilience, motherhood, and reinvention. But in that room, image met reality. Observers who've analyzed the body language describe an invisible script unfolding. When Meghan Markle speaks, others glance but don't lean in. When Emma Grede speaks, the table stills. When Nicole Avant laughs, conversation pivots toward her. These are small, almost imperceptible details, but they form the unspoken choreography of power. And Meghan, once fluent in it, now stumbles through the rhythm. Her recent travels make the contrast sharper. Paris for photos, New York for panels, Washington, D.C. for press. Yet none of it seems to have translated into influence. She returns to California expecting her glow to precede her, but Hollywood moves on fast. The industry doesn't kneel for old titles. It crowns whoever commands the moment. And that night, the crown clearly belonged to Emma Grede. Imagine the seating arrangement. A quiet declaration of hierarchy disguised as hospitality. Emma at the head, effortlessly steering conversation. Nicole Avant nearby, sipping her wine, detached yet observant. Meghan Markle, placed where she could be seen, but not necessarily heard. She likely believed her proximity to power equaled possession of it. But proximity isn't ownership. Not in Los Angeles. Not anymore. When the toast begins, the illusion fractures further. Glasses rise, arms extend, laughter fills the space. Meghan Markle leans forward eagerly, trying to connect with each clink. Her movement feels calculated, almost pleading for inclusion. Meanwhile, Nicole Avant simply raises her glass, nods once, and sips. No reaching, no scrambling. Just quiet acknowledgement. That gesture alone speaks volumes. Authority doesn't reach, it's reached for. Watching the clip, you can see the hierarchy crystallize like light refracting through crystal. Emma Grede commands the air, Nicole Avant owns the silence, and Meghan Markle performs for acceptance. The audience doesn't need dialogue to understand who truly matters in that frame. Every small motion betrays the truth. Some women are present, others are powerful. What happened next sealed the impression. As Meghan Markle began a conversation, her voice soft but deliberate, Grede cut across her mid-sentence, not cruelly, not even consciously, just naturally, the way someone does when they know the room belongs to them. The energy shifted instantly, the laughter redirected, and Meghan caught mid-word froze. Her eyes darted, her smile trembled, her voice fell silent. For a woman who once commanded world stages, that pause spoke volumes. People who've worked around Meghan Markle say she thrives in curated environments. Interviews rehearsed, questions screened, outcomes controlled. But this wasn't that. This was unfiltered social theater, spontaneous and raw. And it revealed how much she struggles without control. For years, her charm relied on presentation. Now she was face-to-face with authenticity she couldn't imitate. Grede, by contrast, radiated ease. No pretense, no fear of judgment. She leaned in, laughed loud, gestured freely, the kind of confidence that comes from building something with your own hands. When she spoke, even the clinking of cutlery softened. Nicole Avant observed, serene, letting others orbit her calm. And Meghan Markle, once used to being the gravitational center, felt herself pulled toward their axis. In that setting, everything Meghan had cultivated, the Duchess grace, the rehearsed empathy, the practiced laugh, seemed like stage lighting in daylight. It lost effect. The cameras meant to capture her comeback instead documented a contrast so sharp it bordered on cruel. There she was, the woman who left royalty to find her own voice, suddenly voiceless among women who'd never needed titles to speak. And yet, what made the moment truly haunting wasn't humiliation, it was revelation. Meghan Markle wasn't attacked or mocked. She was simply outmatched. The dinner didn't expose malice. It exposed hierarchy. Real power doesn't announce itself. It occupies space effortlessly. And for the first time in a long time, Meghan realized she wasn't the one occupying it. By the end of the evening, when the plates cleared and laughter faded into quiet goodbyes, Meghan Markle's smile remained, perfectly fixed, painfully hollow. Cameras caught that frozen expression, the slight jaw clench, the slow blink. To most, it looked like composure. To anyone paying attention, it was surrender. By the time Meghan Markle left that dinner, her entire posture had changed. Gone was the woman who entered with poised shoulders and calculated calm. What remained was someone aware that perception was slipping faster than she could manage. The cameras didn't need words to tell the story. The silence told it better. Every blink, every tilt of her head revealed a woman trying not to crumble under invisible pressure. The dinner on paper had been harmless, an evening of connection among entrepreneurs and philanthropists. But for Meghan Markle, it became a silent review. The people around her weren't just guests. They were gatekeepers. Grede, glowing in her own home, didn't need to perform. Her empire spoke for itself. Nicole Avant, the calm observer beside her, didn't need to seek validation. She already had influence flowing through her veins, political, cultural, financial. And then there was Meghan, sitting between them like someone hoping proximity would be mistaken for power. As the night stretched on, the subtle cues became impossible to ignore. Whenever Grede spoke, the table leaned in. When Meghan Markle tried to share a thought, conversation drifted elsewhere. It wasn't malicious. It was natural hierarchy in motion. People gravitate toward authenticity, and Emma's confidence was magnetic. Meghan, despite her charm, was radiating effort. That kind of strain is visible. It's the difference between being present and performing presence. What made it worse was Nicole Avant's composure. She didn't interrupt, didn't dominate, didn't even engage much. She didn't need to. Her stillness was power. When she smiled, others followed. When she lifted her glass, people mirrored her without realizing it. She was observing everything. The tone, the energy, the way Meghan Markle kept adjusting her posture, repositioning her glass, forcing herself into smiles that never quite reached her eyes. Nicole didn't need to say a word. She saw everything she needed to know, and that's what made this night more than awkward. It made it consequential. Because Nicole Avant wasn't just anyone. She represented a gateway to Netflix, the company still tied to Meghan and Prince Harry's multi-million-dollar deal. For months, industry insiders had whispered that Netflix executives were frustrated. Too much hype, not enough delivery. Documentaries that trended for a week, podcasts that fizzled, ideas that stalled in endless development. The company wanted more than headlines. They wanted results, so imagine the optics. Nicole Avant, the wife of the man who controls Meghan Markle's professional future, sitting just inches away, watching her falter in a setting that was supposed to reaffirm her credibility. It was like a silent audition, and she didn't even realize she was being tested. Emma Grede, meanwhile, was thriving. Natural, articulate, vibrant. If Netflix wanted charisma, Emma had it in abundance. If they wanted reliability, she was proof of it. The rumor mill in Hollywood spins fast, and by the next morning, people were already talking. The words power shift appeared in gossip threads. A single clip, Emma's hand brushing near Meghan's face, became viral shorthand for dominance. The irony was painful. The dinner meant to empower women had turned into a visual metaphor for Meghan Markle's fading control over her own narrative. And then there was the necklace. A small, gleaming detail that gained meaning in hindsight. Weeks before that dinner, Meghan Markle had worn a delicate piece from Emma Grede's collection at a public appearance. At the time, tabloids described it as a gesture of friendship. But after that dinner, people started to see it differently. Not a symbol of unity, but of dependence. Meghan wearing Emma's jewelry now looked less like collaboration and more like quiet surrender. Who lends the necklace and who borrows it tells you everything about who's in control. Inside the entertainment world, this symbolism matters. Influence in Hollywood isn't measured in money alone. It's in who doesn't need to try. Emma Grede doesn't chase opportunity. She attracts it. Nicole Avant doesn't request attention. She commands it by existing. Meghan Markle still chases relevance, attending every event, dressing for every camera, hoping every photograph buys her more time at the top. Observers close to Meghan have quietly admitted that she thrives only in curated spaces, interviews with pre-approved hosts, appearances where applause is guaranteed, panels where she controls the tone. But unfiltered interaction? That's where the mask begins to slip. Emma Grede's dinner wasn't a red carpet moment. It was real life, and real life doesn't wait for you to find your line. What viewers saw that night was a contrast. Two women sitting inches apart but miles apart in aura. One, Emma, unshaken, grounded, and electric. The other, Meghan, polished but fragile, her confidence evaporating with each passing minute. Nicole Avant, calm as marble, witnessing the exchange like someone reading between the lines of an unwritten script. That balance of energy told a story no statement could undo. For Meghan Markle, this wasn't just social discomfort. It was a mirror. Years of strategy, of shaping her public identity around empowerment, equality, and independence, all challenged in a single evening where she looked dependent, uncertain, and out of place. Even her allies began to whisper that she might be slipping, not because of malice, but because the world she's trying to rule no longer believes in crowns. It believes in results. As the night closed, Emma Grede stood effortlessly, thanking her guests with that signature ease that makes everyone feel seen. Nicole Avant embraced her quietly, exchanging knowing smiles. And Meghan Markle lingered, polite, gracious, visibly exhausted. When she finally stepped outside, cameras flashed, catching that same frozen half smile. To some, it was composure. To others, defeat dressed in diamonds. Back home in Montecito, the silence must have been deafening. For a woman who once ruled headlines, there's nothing louder than indifference. The internet analyzed the footage, slowing down gestures frame by frame, turning micro-expressions into global commentary. Every blink became symbolic, every smile dissected. And as the narrative grew, Meghan Markle's carefully built image took another hit. Not from scandal, but from exposure. Industry voices now say that dinner might become a defining moment, a quiet shift that signals how Hollywood really sees her. Not as the visionary she presents herself as, but as someone still searching for footing among people who don't need introductions. Emma Grede remains in control of her empire. Nicole Avant remains an untouchable figure of influence. And Meghan Markle remains under the microscope, balancing between reinvention and retreat. In the end, maybe the dinner wasn't an ambush at all. Maybe it was a reflection, one that showed Meghan Markle exactly what she's fighting to regain: effortless power. The kind that doesn't need a title, doesn't need cameras, doesn't need performance. And as she closed her car door that night, her reflection in the tinted window told a story the world didn't need narration for. She wasn't walking away from a dinner. She was walking into a reckoning. She was walking into a reckoning